On your election headquarters this afternoon, concerns are escalating over the growing influence of money in Ghana's electoral process after a new study in Tamale exposed widespread vote buying and deepening public distrust in political financing. The Democracy is Not for Sale survey, conducted across key public spaces in the northern regional capital, found that many residents have either directly witnessed or heard credible accounts of candidates offering cash or gifts in exchange for votes. Yet, despite the troubling trend, a significant number insist they will still choose ideas over inducements, raising urgent questions about enforcement, accountability, and the future of Ghana's democratic integrity. The moment is here. In the next 30 minutes, we will go live to Nat Hall in Tamale, where my colleague Faustina Safo is standing by for a compelling, no-holds-barred conversation on this issue. But first, here in the studio, I'm joined by JoyNews senior editor Evans Mensah, and also joining us live from Tamale on Zoom is a member of our research desk, Caleb Ziblim, with fresh insights from the field after days of data gathering across the metropolis. Let's begin from the studio with Evans Mensah. And Evans, why are we having this conversation at this particular time? And really, why does it matter?
It is the right time to do it. If you look at where we are just 2 years shy of an election year, and the various parties are beginning the reorganization of their party structures. The MPP just finished the election of their flag bearer. So that tells you that we are entering a phase where the election cycle is almost about to swing back into full tilt. So this is the best time to do it so that you can begin to create the consensus, the national awareness, and also create a groundswell of national popular support for some sort of change. But the awareness part is very, very important because the delegates will be voting for the MPP constituency, regional and national executives. These delegates are members of the public, and their electorate will vote in the national elections as well. So you will want to position this at the time when you would get them exposed, so that when the candidates, those who are aspiring to the parties, go around and they're campaigning, that awareness becomes a basis for reducing the influence of money in the politics. That's why we've timed it where we've timed it. And this is a 2.5 year project. So we're going to be running this campaign all the way to possibly the beginning of 2028, definitely towards the end of 2027, and then we'll have a 5 months period where we retire the project and sort of look back at what we've achieved. That enters actually into 2028, which is the election year. And again, that timing is essential because at the end of this campaign, we want to achieve a few very important things. We want to be in a place where that national push that hopefully this is going to generate will compel change. That's for us is important. Legislative change, policy change within the various political parties. And we're very, very happy that in the last few weeks, we've seen on the back of what happened in Ayawaso East, the NDC itself has set up a committee to do a complete overhaul of its internal structures and its constitutional provisions around the subject of vote buying, right? So you could see that there's momentum towards change. And this just goes to help the process arrive at the destination where by 2028, we've put in place both internal party, but national legislative constitutional structures that makes it prohibitive for money to become such a driving force in our elections, both internal party and national elections.
And as I mentioned earlier, we've done a survey across the length and breadth of the northern region, and we'll be showing it on your screens right now for everybody to see the places that we've been, the questions, numerous questions that we've been asking the residents of Tamale. But before we do that, though, Caleb Ziblim of our research desk is joining me on Zoom right now. Caleb, today is the final day. So far, what have you gathered? Kindly unmute your microphone so we can hear you. Right, while we get Caleb Ziblim to unmute his microphone, there you have it on your screen. These are the places that we visited in the northern region. As you can see, we visited the central market there. We visited the transportation terminals. And this is it. We've had over 200 interactions, spoken to about 120 respondents in Tamale.
The music.
Right, so these are the big numbers of the survey we've been conducting ahead of our forum later today. So there you have it. We interviewed a number of people, and that's the percentage breakdown. The men were 64% of the people we interviewed. The women were 35% of the people we interviewed as well. So that is the demographic of the respondents of our survey in Tamale. Right. So this is it. This is the age group of the people that we interviewed. People who are above 51. That they were 18%. People between the ages of 36 to 50. They were 30%. People between the ages of 26 to 35 were 24%, and people between the ages of 18 and 25 were 28%. Evans, these are the demographics when it comes to the people that we spoke to. You can see that the aged or people above 51 contributed the least to it.
Yeah, I mean, nationally, by the time we're done with, by the way, just to put this in context, we're going to be in 10, 11 regions in total by the time we're done with this in this 2.5 years.
Right.
It's not only going to be a JoyNews thing, it's going to be JoyNews and Adom. And in total, we want to hit 1,600 respondents. And in Tamale alone, we are currently at 120 respondents. So that is good. It's a very good start. And the reactions for us are very important. Let me explain why this is important, even before you go into the specifics. As we get a colleague to the ground who have done the work to join us and walk us through this. Now, when we're designing this particular project, we're very clear. We don't want this to be a talk shop where you go into communities and hold forums, just like we do, and just people talk and interact. It's nice and good. We were clear, we want to have what we call a citizen blueprint for dealing with this particular problem. Now, we did not want a situation where that blueprint is simply based on off-the-cuff, everyday conversations on radio and television. We want it to be anchored on a scientific aggregation of views across the country. That will give us something very close to scientifically what people want the government, the state, to do to fix a problem. Remember that I said at the beginning, we want to end with some real concrete, tangible change. And so the research is possibly one of the most important aspects of this project, because that then gives you a sense of what Ghanaians are thinking about it, their experiences with the problem of vote buying and vote selling, because we always talk about vote buying, but it's both ways. It's somebody selling the vote and there's somebody willing to buy. So there's a politician who's campaigning, who wants to be elected, who is willing to buy, but then there you have the citizens who are offering their votes, and so they are also selling. And we want to ground this on research. And so by the time we end, we have a very solid, fundamental research base that gives us a sense of what the nation is thinking about. That is why this research is important. So the research team will go ahead always of the actual live broadcast team, and they will do the groundwork. And so you look at the places they've been for this work. They've been to the central market in Tamale. They've been to the transportation terminals. They've been to, so that's what you see there on your screen. They've been to the mosque. They've been to the University of Development Studies, Tamale Teaching Hospital. They were on the streets, right, getting these views that then go into this document. And when we are done, by the end of the project, we'll develop the citizen blueprint, a document that will be printed out and handed as part of the advocacy campaign around democracy is not for sale to Parliament, to the presidency, to the political parties, to the Electoral Commission, and then that becomes a basis where you use to now push for some real change. And we are not just coming into this space without a setting foundation already established. CDD and Co have done great work already, in the committee that I was part of, where the parties had come together to think about what should happen, and they have a draft legislation on what should happen to change it. What is important, when the draft legislation is just often the easiest part of it, right? The most difficult part of it is to get citizen buy-in and to now get Parliament and the political class to also buy in, to actually be willing to do something about it. That's the phase we are in now. So CDD is actually also going around the country doing this. GenSet, who are our, work with us on this particular project, also going around the country doing this work. It's to create that national consensus around it. That is why we're going around and talking to people. And that's why you see 120 people doing it. But I like the fact that if you look at this, it's a significant chunk of female involvement, but you also have 46% of male involvement in this. Now, and I've talked about the various places that they've been, and at 4, they will go live. And then you look at the various people they spoke to, and it cuts across, right? Students and lecturers. They bring a certain perspective to this. You have professionals who may or may not be educated. They also bring their own perspective to this. You have traders and hawkers, and they are my favorites. The reason why I'm saying they are my favorites is politicians often think that the less educated you are, the less resources you are, as in your financial state, makes you vulnerable to inducement to vote. And so they see the traders as possibly one of the most vulnerable in this. And it'd be interesting to see what their views are on this particular subject. And business owners, drivers, cleaners, and SHS leavers. That for me it's just the perfect mix of people you need to talk to get a fair sense of what is happening around this particular subject.
Evans, we'll continue shortly, but in the meantime, we have Caleb Ziblim live from Tamale with us. He's part of our research team. Caleb, you have been on the ground tabulating the data there. Tell us, what really does your data reveal about the vote buying pattern in Northern Region?
Ken, I hope you can hear me.
We can't hear you, Caleb. Please go ahead.
Okay, so we spoke to about almost 200 people. We had one-on-one engagements with about 120 people. And we had a cluster of some focus groups with about 80 people. And then out of the people we spoke to, about half of them says, yes, they have actually seen politicians giving out some goodies and money before elections. About 42% of the people we spoke to said that. And another 40% said they have not seen it themselves, but then they have heard reliable reports from their siblings, from some people they stay with, and then some of their neighbors saying that, yes, they've shared some money somewhere, sometimes in the night, sometimes during the day. So we have half of the people saying they have seen it. We have another half saying that they've heard reports about it. And just a few of them said they have not seen nor heard about things like this before. So the data is really clear here. It shows that almost everybody we spoke to has either seen or heard about votes buying before. So it's very clear here, Ken.
All right, Caleb, run us through the slides that we can see on our screens right now, the demography of respondents, for example. We're seeing a pattern here. The people aged 51 and above contributed to 18% of the respondents. You had younger people also making up a chunk of the people that you spoke to. How did you arrive at that?
So we try to make the respondents very representative of the entire region, and then we try to pick the thoughts of different classes of people, from those who are now voting, that the 18 to 25-year-olds. You know, amongst that group, a few of them would have voted before, and some of them will now be getting ready to vote. Then we spoke to those in between, 26 to about 36, and then from 36 to about 50. Those people have been voting for some time now. Some of them, after speaking with them, they told us that they've actually given up, and then they don't like the way that democracy is currently heading. They also spoke to some older folks, 51 above, especially the older market women. Most of them were concerned about their children. Some said that the way the money is creeping its way into our democracy, they fear that some of their children who might not have enough money, and even though they have some ambitions, they might not be able to contest for some of the positions in their various constituencies. So we spoke to a number of people, and then the age groups were supposed to be very representative of the entire region. We wanted to hear from all classes of people, from the young to the old, so that the information we are gathering is representative of the entire region. Because, you know, when you are doing surveys, you cannot speak to everybody in the entire region, so you are trying to have your sample representative of the entire region. And that's how we came about the numbers. Again, we spoke to different types of people. We spoke to professionals, we spoke to some doctors, we spoke to some market women, we spoke to some pharmacists, we spoke to some unemployed graduates, we spoke to just passerbys, some people, some hawkers, some traders, and some business owners. And the business owners had very interesting things to say, because most of them pay taxes. They say the GRA always comes around for their taxes. So hearing from the business community as well was very insightful. And then putting together all these types of people from the demography I've mentioned earlier, that's how we came about the results of the survey. So that's going to be very representative of the entire region. And this is just the northern region. From here, we're going to different other parts of the country, so that we can get the holistic view of the entire nation. But then so far, we are done with the northern region. Okay.
Walk us through the remaining data that you have, and were there any data gathering that you conducted that shocked you the most?
Yes, so especially within the age group of about 26 to before 50, the youth in that group, they were very passionate, and we heard from a few of them saying that honestly, if you are trying to introduce new laws to try and fix the money inside our politics, it's not going to work, because those who are in charge of fixing the problem or to enforce some of the laws are already complicit in the action. So they don't think that this is the way to go to introduce new laws, but then their focus was more on the enforcement angle. And then some few of them also were saying that this cannot work unless there's civil action. So they want the youth to start making noise and start, having demonstration, have protests before something can change. And unfortunately, we spoke to a few people who also said that they think the only way to go now is through a coup d'etat. And even though they were in the minority, we did hear some people say things like that. So it gets you to understand the type of sentiment that is going out on the ground. And then sometimes when we are in our offices or in the studio, we don't really get these types of views. But then we had some of them. Some people said they have hope. Others said they've given up, they've stopped voting. Others also said, especially the older folks, said that they are more concerned about their children, because looking at their living conditions, they don't think they have about 2 million cedis to run a parliamentary campaign for their children, or for their children to get access to about 2 million cedis. So these were some of the sentiments that we heard on the ground when interacting with the people.
Caleb Ziblim, thank you very much, Caleb, all the way from Tamale in the northern region. and we're just a few minutes away from that forum. The Democracy is Not for Sale forum or dialogue, as Evans Mensah has explained to us. Evans, well, listening to Caleb, though, he did mention that just a few of the people that were interviewed say that they prefer a coup d'etat intervention. Is that shocking?
Well, of course. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it is, because we've seen the Afrobarometer report over the last 2 years signal this, that we're getting to see a bit more traction for some form of military intervention, primarily because people have come to the place where the democratic dividend has eluded everybody. And so there's significant disenchantment, people are disillusioned. And so if the democracy isn't yielding results that are tangible, and it's not improving people's lives, and they can't see the dividends, then why keep it? You see the logic there. So that is why you see people say that. But that is how how we've designed the survey, to tease out everything we could. Because what that does is, by the time we put together the citizen blueprint, when you take it, anybody who reads that and is in a position of power to fix it will see the threat of inaction. The consequences for doing nothing is that you will now be legitimizing and providing fuel for the hundreds, possibly thousands of millions out there who may share that view. And so it gives you a sense, very clear scientific basis to galvanize the sort of reaction that we are expecting we'll get from the decision makers. I mean, politicians have one trait in common: self-preservation. In fact, it's a fundamental human trait.
Yeah.
But politicians more so. They want to protect their turf and they want to remain in position. So when you see that the people who vote for you are beginning to say, in significant numbers across the country, that you have become useless, in essence, because the democratic process that produces you and gives you the power and puts you in a position in parliament and in the top hierarchy of state isn't delivering any benefit for them. And so they will prefer that you are removed through a barrel of a gun. If that doesn't force a politician, a duty bearer, and somebody decision to act, to fix the fundamentals that are broken, then we are doomed. But we believe that once you do this well and you get them a true sense of the views around the country, it's part of the process of moving us to a point of action. So that's why, for me, I'm not surprised. But that's why I'm also happy that we are beginning to get this raw, unfiltered, scientific aggregation of views, so that we can use that as a basis to run this advocacy.
One of the people that were interviewed yesterday did indicate that she voted for the first time in 2024, and she said that she had made up her mind to vote for a particular candidate. She was home, and then she was called by the team of that particular candidate to come and vote. And when she was done voting, she was given money, although she wasn't expecting it, and that was the candidate that she wanted to vote for. She was still given money at the end. What does that say?
Well, the politicians have a lot of money to blow, but they are not doing it only for this instant election, whatever election they're approaching. They're also doing it for future elections. And politicians always think long term, beyond an election that they're waging. So if anything they can do to make it easier for them to court your vote, they will, including giving you money, whether you voted for them or not. Even sometimes you don't vote for them, they still put your money there. But you know what that does? Another problem that we are trying to deal with this Democracy is Not for Sale campaign is the prohibitively high cost of campaigning in this country. So campaign finance reform is one of the things that we are advocating for too, right? So it's linked. So we have a situation where it's become unsustainable. Campaigning and putting yourself up for public office has become unsustainable in terms of the the funds you require to prosecute a political campaign, it is at the heart of almost every problem this country currently has. Because the politicians themselves do not have the funds to wage and prosecute their campaign. So they must find the money somewhere. Unfortunately, because of the desperation to get into public office, they are going to illicit sources for the funding. Galamsey operators, sometimes drug peddlers and people involved in narcotic drugs. All manner of characters, shady characters, sometimes even foreign influences are possibly pumping money into this. And the closest research that's been done was done by CDD that actually shows that we have illicit financing coming through our politics. If we do not fix that, we cannot fix corruption. We cannot fix the underdevelopment that we have in this country, because the guys who are funding the MPs, who are funding the politicians, getting them into public office, once they are the people they have financed getting there, it's an investment. They will like their returns.
Yeah.
And they'll want the returns paid back with interest. Yeah. That is why the politicians then are forced to be corrupt, because then that is the only way they can pay back. And that replicates and repeats the cycle. It's become a vicious cycle. And it's getting worse by the day. Elections is no longer an election, it's an auction. And unfortunately, we're now going to get to a place now, and something is also beginning to happen that we're beginning to track and see the trend. So the people with good hearts, they simply want to do good. That's how they start. Then they get financed by somebody who simply have their own interest.
Yeah.
They go in there, they are milked, stretched, they do the corrupt stuff, but they still manage to pay and satisfy their financiers. Now, what we are beginning to see is that the illegal, the criminals are beginning to finance themselves to stand to get elected.
Right. Instead of
financing the politicians who are possibly qualified or simply came into the public service.
Yeah.
The criminals themselves are now beginning to finance their own campaigns to get elected into public office. Think about the prospect of having criminals in parliament. So that for me is why this is such an essential campaign to wage. And we're going to be doing this together with a host of other partners,
right.
CDD, GenSed, and others. And GenSed in particular, we are grateful for the help that they've been provided over the years.
Evans, thank you very much. Let's now cross over to Tamale for the big event, Democracy is Not for Sale dialogue, happening right now.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to the heart of the northern region, Tamale. The essence of democracy is to give you and I the power to elect those who steer the affairs of our country. But there is a canker chipping away at that power, and that is this paper in my hand. Money now plays a crucial role in our elections at the executive level, where local executives are chosen internally in parties, and also at the national level, where members of parliament and the president are elected. We have found that it is emerging that competence is not enough. Leaders are chosen now also based on financial muscle. And even when competent individuals step forward, they often have to spend enormous sums during campaigns, money that may not be entirely theirs. And so what happens? Yes, the financiers step in. They offer the money, but they also have conditions attached to that money. They have to make their money back. And that is what happens during governance. Governance becomes repayment and public interest suffers. And that is why JoyNews, through the Impact Makers Foundation, is having a town hall here in the heart of Tamale on democracy is not for sale. We are looking at confronting the growing influence of money in our politics. Yes, you, my audience, can be a part of it. My name is Faustina Safo. And you can call me Captain because I'm starting the conversation live here from Tamale.
Welcome to Tamale.
Indeed, welcome as well. I'm sure that you've been hearing about democracy is not for sale. What's your thoughts? You think our democracy is for sale?
Democracy for sale.
It is for sale?
Yes, of course.
Well, why do you think so?
Because you will help someone to be a campaign with him, like almost about 2 or 3 months. The person will be your leader. He will come to a president, an MP, and the next thing he will turn your back for you. So if we reach there, if the person reach there, you're able to not to find him. Why? Because you can't see the person. And if you can't see the person, and the person you suffer for him, to vote for him, and you have not seen the person, there's not any benefit on it. So you have to sell your vote for him and take what belongs for you. If the person go there, he will not achieve what he wants for himself.
Well, you're the reason why we're in Tamale, to solicit the views of individuals here, to push for political reforms. Because we believe at JoyNews that our democracy cannot be for sale. My name is Faustina Safo. Please take a seat. We'll be right back to introduce my panelists and, of course, distinguished guests. And we appreciate your time and your company here on the Joy News channel. This stream is live on Joy 99.7 FM as well. We're live here in Tamale from the Nat Hall, bringing you this conversation. I'd like to acknowledge some distinguished guests in our midst. We have also invited some dignitaries. So we have individuals from the group with persons with disability. We have members of the NDC, the NPP, the CPP, the PNC. We have students from Savannah International School, students from UDS here in Tamale. We have students from GDCA, NCCE, the Tamale Municipal Assembly, the Ghana Police Service, Justice Bench Group, Gloria Hill Foundation, Savannah Women Integrated Development Group, also here with us. Some guests we have here joining the conversation is the Gupena Al-Hassan Abdullahi. He's Paramount Chief of Gupebu Traditional Area in Tamale. I also have the Sagnarina Ambassador Yakubu Abdullahi. He's Paramount Chief of Sagnarigu Traditional Area. We also have the Lamishegu Na Mohammed Idrisu, his chief of Lamishegu Traditional Area. The Chogu Na Mahamadou Al-Hassan, chief of Chogu Traditional Area. We have Municipal Chief Executive of Sagnarigu, Honorable Abdullahi Imoru Gong. I have Mr. Philip Gamgi. He is the Executive Director for the Ghana Developing Communities Association. I also have Madam Gloria Abui. She is the CEO of Gloria Hill Foundation. I have President of Persons with Disability here as well, Abubakari Nima, joining the conversation as well. We appreciate your time, and it's a good time to welcome you if you just tuned in. Joy News is live in Tamale. We are having a conversation dubbed Democracy is Not for Sale. This is in partnership with the JoyNews Impact Makers Foundation. We're putting the spotlight on how politics is eroding our gains here in the country, as well as money infiltrating our politics. Well, I'd like to introduce my guests seated here with me right now, as well as I have a guest joining me on Zoom. In the panel, I have with me Superintendent Richard Lante Odate. He's with the Ghana Police Service. He is Chief of Operations. We appreciate your time here on the Joy News channel. I also have with me Professor Ilyas Al-Hassan. He's Dean of Faculty of Social Sciences from the University of Development Studies. I also have Hafizatu Sumani. She's Head of Programs and Policies Influencing as NORZAC. Thank you so much for your time here on the Joy News channel. I have Dr. Imaruna Mohammed. He's Director of Programs, National Commission for Civic Education. We appreciate his time. He's joined the conversation via Zoom. I also have Hajia Alima Saguto Saeed. She is Executive Director for Savannah Women Integrated Development Agency. I appreciate your time here on the Joy News channel. And of course, you, our audience, you can join the conversation. We're streaming on all our social media platforms. We're Joy News on TV. Share your thoughts with us, and we will be happy to read them here on the Joy News channel. But I'd like to start with Professor Ilyasu. Thank you so much for joining us today. And as a sociologist, I'm wondering from that standpoint, how is the monetization of our politics actually reshaping democracy in the country?
Thank you very much. Let me take this opportunity to express my profound gratitude and thanks to all your viewers within Tamale and outside Tamale. Frankly speaking, the monetization of our politics nowadays is becoming unbearable. And I strongly believe that that is why this kind of forum is being organized. You notice that democracy has a lot of principles which every citizen must abide by. Apart from being something that allows the people to participate in the governance of their country, the monetization of it is actually a problem in the past elections that we have had. It isn't for sale in principle, but in reality, monetization has made democracy to be on sale. Why do I say that? Before we determine whether our democracy is being monetized or commoditized, it's better we understand what democracy is all about. Democracy has to do with the people actively participating in the governance of their country. There must be rule of law. That is supremacy of the law. Law determines whatever in the country. Equality before the law. Everybody should be equal before the law. And also the protection of the fundamental human rights. Ideally, democracy is not supposed to be on sale. That is seeking political power through democratic systems. Either influence the voters with money or gifts. But I must say that it doesn't augur well for the country. So democracy, as we all know, politicians have actually hidden under certain cover, and that is poverty. By forcing people, taking the people's decisions. Because when you give money and the person votes for you, indirectly you have taken the decision that the person should have taken with his conscience. But because of poverty situation in Ghana, especially in the rural communities, politicians have actually relied on that. So the whole system has been monetized or commoditized, where people have to buy, politicians have to buy people's decisions to become either MPs or the presidents. So,
and it's interesting you make that point, because even when we got here, we had the opportunity to interact with some students from the schools, the Tamale Technical Institute and UDS. And some of them shockingly tell me that they have never voted because they presume that the outcome is already predicted because of who has more money. And so I'm wondering, from a sociology point of view, you also make mention of poverty and how it influences the whole scenario. How does inequality play a role in this?
Poverty also brings inequality. Education brings inequality. There are a lot of people who will never allow themselves to be bought, especially in terms of voting. And those are the people who have the education and they are sensitized. Politicians hide under that cover, illiteracy. They don't know what it entails. Some people even voluntarily sell their votes outside, simply because they are ignorant about what is happening in their country. And that is why what politicians have relied on. If a politician comes with money to buy your vote, don't forget that the person is buying your decision to make the government. So after taking their money and then voting for the person who has actually given you the money, you have not actually made the decision. You have sold your decision out to somebody. So it's rampant in our daily lives. Politicians are supposed to live with the society. Politicians are supposed to tell the people what they can bring on board. Politicians are supposed to encourage people to come out and vote for a candidate who they think can help them, but not to influence them with money or gifts in any form. But that is what we are seeing in Ghana. And of course, I strongly believe that we'll come to talk about what we can do to actually curb this particular situation.
Indeed, we'll come to that.
But frankly speaking, democracy in Ghana has now become a commodity where politicians sell and then the voters also buy with their decisions.
Thank you so much, Prof. I'll come back to you, but let me hand over the microphone now to have Setu. Thank you so much for your time here. You've worked extensively with women and the youth, so it's right for me to ask you, to what extent does the infiltration of money in our politics affect women participation in politics?
Thank you very much, and I appreciate this forum. I think this is one of the platforms we should keep engaging citizens on. And when I came here, I met one of the youth here, and I was engaging her to let us discuss this particular issue. One key thing that has come in the conversation I've had with many is that with this current concept in terms of monetizing our election, it is at all levels, and that is the worry we now have now. It has gone to the schools, and everywhere we have election of leaders. And so for us, we feel that it will continue to affect women and youth, because these are also the category of group who are financially handicapped. And so if we keep monetizing leadership and who should lead us, then we will keep on having the women not coming up and having the youth also back there. I am saying this because if you just look at the recent election, you can just read it to say that a lot really happened, and a lot of women who also lost was also because they were not able to fund their campaigns. And so if we keep on monetizing these elections, we will keep on losing the women. And I think it is supposed to be a shift where we have a balance of getting more women also leading. But with the current concepts, we have also influenced the youth to believe that they must be paid to vote. So we have now changed the mindset of the youth to think that election must give them monies. And none of us here is new about that. We have seen it. We have seen in almost all the elections, those of us who are alive now, who have participated in election for about 5-6 times, we have all seen what has happened. It is not a hidden thing, and we must be very honest to talk about it. And being honest means that we must just tell the truth and ask ourselves, what can we do differently? And so for me, I am worried because right now it is in our universities, our tertiary schools, our second cycle institutions, even the little contests at those levels, they want to give out something for votes. And that is very worrying. So now that belief, I feel these are the platforms, and going down there to disengage that. And maybe just like Prof mentioned, when we get to the strategies, what can we do to actually change the status quo now? That is something that we need to look at.
And we'll come to that, but then I'd like to stay with you because Prof made mention of the fact that poverty is one of the leading factors why people accept some of these monies when they come. And so because you've worked with women and the youth for a long time, are women and young people more vulnerable to political inducement?
Yeah, I think I mentioned that. I just said that they are the group of people who are really vulnerable when it comes to economic issues. So right now, as we sit, if you ask many of these young people sitting here what they have in their bank accounts, I think you can easily tell. And it doesn't look like any of them don't want to rule or to be a leader. But honestly, they do not have the resources. And for many of the women, those who even have the resources, some of them are somehow controlled. I would say controlled because they always have somebody who will tell them to spend. Or give them the direction in terms of guidance. And so for the vulnerability, the youth and the women will continue to be in it until we end the financing of the election or monetizing our elections. I also want to say that aside the poverty and the resources, we also have weak institutions. I think our election management bodies and also the political parties are not helping us in this. And these are the weak systems we are talking about. Until we strengthen those weak systems, it will keep on challenging us.
Thank you so much. Now, you made mention of weak systems, so it's right for me to go straight to Superintendent Richard and just get his thoughts on that. You've been on the ground for a very long time, and you've served for decades now. From your operational experience, what exactly is the difficulty in arresting culprits who are caught trying to sell or even buy votes?
Thank you very much. I will take it from this point that quite a number of us have not understood democracy the way it should be. We have not been schooled the way we should have. And for that matter, quite a lot of us are ignorant about the laws and what the law seeks to do to us when we default. If you look at the PNDC law 284, section 33 on bribery, a person commits the offense of bribery if he directly or acting through another person gives money or obtain an office for a voter in order to induce the voter to vote or refrain from voting. 2, corruptly does such an act on account of a voter having voted or refrained from voting. Then 3, makes a gift or provides something of value to a voter to induce the voter to vote in a certain way or to obtain election of a candidate. Then finally, if he advances or pays money or causes money to be paid to or for the use of person with the intent that the money or part of it shall be expended in bribery at an election, or knowing pays money or causes money to be paid to a person in discharge or repayment of money wholly or in part expended in bribery at an action or at an election. If we have really understood democracy, that is about quite a number of us. It's about a society. It is not about individuals. Then if individuals are coming to give us pieces of peace for us to go and vote for them, we will not, because we have understood that it is not for individual gains, but it is for communal gains. But because we have failed to understand that it is for communal gains and we are rather receiving individual gains, that is where we are now. And I'll come to why we are where we are. Section 34 of the PNDC law, treating. A person commits the offense of treating if he corruptly, either himself or through another person, before, during, or after an election, gives or provide or pays wholly or in part the expenses of giving, is providing meat, drink, entertainment, or provision for any person. So look at it. Meat, drink, entertainment. Should these be things that should influence us to vote for a person? If meat should influence us, then I don't think we've gotten to that stage. That's why I'm saying we have not understood democracy the way we should have understood it. If we have understood it well, then meat will not influence us to vote. Then drink will not influence us to vote.
And I've covered elections, and shockingly, in each election I have covered, there's always a breakfast stand. In fact, some of them go ahead to make a lunch stand, and voters go there to eat. So in that scenario, you have the powers to arrest all of them. Is that the case?
I will get to where you are driving at.
Okay.
I'll get to where you are driving at.
You're getting there.
Just take your time. Just take your time for me.
Oh, I'll take my time for you.
So,
and our audience are already speaking, so we'll give you the opportunity to talk to us
for the
shortly.
purpose of time.
Yes, for the purpose of time.
We have the right to arrest, but it goes beyond arrest. If we arrest, we should be able to prove why we have arrested you. And when it comes to the matter of influence, it is not something you can see on a face value and say, because I have given him 20 cedis, I have given him a piece of meat, that is sufficient to have influenced him. You need to come with a proof. So the proof we are looking for here is either there is an agreement to the effect that after receiving this piece of meat, after receiving 20 cedis, I will vote for you, or a testimony from the person who has received that gift, confirming that after receiving this gift, it was enough for me to vote for you. Those were the proofs, or are the proofs we need in court. Because if you go to court, it should prove beyond reasonable doubt.
But if we have pictures of them eating there, and you know, usually the political parties, they'll brand their stands. That's not enough proof, is it?
Let me make a statement here.
Okay.
Giving or gifting is natural and it is cultural. Biblically, giving is allowed. Culturally, giving is allowed. So can you prove that the food that was available, was it enough to influence that person? Here we are looking at influence. We have to prove influence beyond reasonable doubt before the court can take a decision on the case you are bringing to court. So if you cannot prove beyond reasonable doubt by giving evidence that confirms the charges you've laid against the person, then you cannot make a case. And we all know, per the 1992 Constitution, we are supposed to cooperate with the security agencies. But when it comes to issues of politics, cooperation lacks. The person who has received and the person who has given will vehemently deny, and they will say it wasn't for what you are thinking. So we have to have a hardcore evidence. That should be a recording or a testimony of whoever has taken part in it before we can let the court take an action on that. So that is the area where we need to continually educate ourselves and understand what the law is saying, and what the law can do to us. In that case, I don't think we will be doing what we are doing currently.
I see. But just before I move on to my next panelist, there are also concerns that during elections, because I've covered elections, it gives me the background knowledge to ask these questions. The delegates will come around the political parties and also ask for their transportation. Isn't that enough evidence?
I told you, whoever is receiving it and whoever is giving, there should be a confirmation or evidence of agreement that after giving me TNT, I will vote for you.
So there has to be a document.
Once that piece of evidence is not available, I just told you, giving or gifting is natural and it's cultural. So if he's telling you that is a TNT for him, is that wrong for you to give somebody TNT? If you can't link it to the charges you are laying before the court.
But then if
and
the
linkage here
comes with conditions, and that's where
the condition is what you need
raises
to prove.
The point about weak enforcement.
Yes.
And she's raising that concern because most of us see these things playing out right before our eyes. Mm-hmm. We see that in our laws it is illegal. But what then is the difficulty in enforcing our laws?
So I just told you per Article 41. I of the 1992 Constitution, embodying all of us to cooperate with all the security agencies. Are we having the cooperation here relating to political inclined issues? We are not getting the cooperation. Who should give me the evidence to go to court? I need to have my evidence, or somebody should assist me to get the evidence. If they are not assisting me, how do I get it? How do I prove my case? And I need to prove my case because the 1992 Constitution ensures that you need to prove your case beyond reasonable doubt. Otherwise, the person you are taking to court is innocent until proven guilty. And the guilt here is the evidence I need to. And the evidence I need is the testament or confirmation or the agreement or transaction relating to the voting. If I can't relate those to my charges or my case, I can't make a case.
Interesting point he makes there. And you've made a salient point. You're not getting cooperation from the political parties. And we have reps here from all the political parties. So we'll be coming to them shortly to get their thoughts on that. Why exactly they are failing to cooperate with the police. But let me move on to Hajia Alima and just get your thoughts and experience on this, because you are a gender advocate. And so we're looking at the influence of money in our politics. From an advocate point of view, how is that eroding our gains?
Yeah, so just to also add my voice to observe all protocols, ask for permission from our chiefs and the rest of the dignitaries here to add my voice. Yes, over the years, women's rights, donors, CSOs have done a lot of advocacy to get women, youth into leadership. We've done that with the intentionality that the leadership is for them is today, it's not tomorrow. But because of the kind of democracy we have practiced, usually we don't get the results. Let me give 3 examples. We worked on a project, and in that project, we decided to let women understand the district assembly concept. You know, the district assembly concept starts from the bottom, the unit committees. So we are saying that we want leaders, women to experience leadership in any level that they are so that they can build on the confidence to be able to grow. Now, we had 3 women during the last election who said that they wanted to be part of the unit committee. And I also want to make a point that what is good is that this time we have gotten a lot of support from men that, look, they are allowing women that are capable to move. But that is where the monetary part comes in, and that is where the commodity part of the democracy becomes very practical and rare when it comes to issues of women and youth. And as advocates, it worries us. Now, these three women told me, when they went to discuss with their husband said, why not? You can go because this community, we see how active you are contributing. But the question each of them, their husbands asked them was, do you have money? This is unit committee. I'm just building on the point Afsa said that it is at every level. This is unit committee, where the community action plans are developed. And it is from those levels that you build it into the medium-term plans. So we want women to be there. We want youth to be there. We want them to participate. We want them to make their decisions at that level. Because the practical needs of women is at that level. When you are talking water, it is at that level of community. You are talking safe energy, it is at that level of community. But if you don't get them into their decision-making power, it means that they missed it. It's not captured in the action plan. Therefore, the medium-term plan does not budget for it. Now, the question of do you have money made these women to go, but they couldn't. Last 2 weeks, I was talking to a young guy who told me that he wanted to contest election at the university level. Finally, this is a guy that the whole campus ever knows that this guy is very capable. This is a very smart guy with a very positive mindset, attitude, very perfect. But that anywhere he went, they asked him, can you transport us when it is time to vote? She said, no, I couldn't. But he kept going. He kept going. Fortunately for that guy, he told me that he won because he got people who believed in his capacity. And that is why we say that the democracy we want to practice is ideas. It's about interest. It's about people's needs. It's about people's basic necessity of life and who can offer that. It is not for sale. So if we understand it from the perspective of that, it is needs-based, it is interest, it is capacity, it is diligence, it is about applying some level of emotional intelligence. Then you will allow it to flow naturally so that those who are capable will lead. Now, my last example is a PWD person that I encountered. You see, as we are talking all this, I'm very proud that every time Joy Prime have program, they are very inclusive when it comes to getting them to understand some of the proceedings that go on. This is a young guy who uses wheelchair, and he wants to be the school SRC president. So she told me that what happened was that as he was campaigning, his opponents kept telling people that this guy, one, he doesn't have money. Secondly, he cannot even go to the people who have money to give him money because he cannot walk. So he has double issues there. And this is a young guy. So that is a demotivation now for him not to also even be there. So we are talking about commodity not for sale. That has caused a lot of indiscipline in the system. Okay. Because people think that because I have given you the power, and you have given me money, I can do whatever I want. So you have a system that we are now currently everywhere, where there are disturbances everywhere, and like he said, nobody is ready to own up who is disturbing the system. Nobody is ready to do that. And that capacity of entitlement that the monetization of the democracy we have has brought has increased indiscipline to the extent that now we can never get things right. And for me, the bigger impact on the woman is not just one woman, sometimes it becomes a generational impact.
I see.
Because if a woman who should have had water to save time, who should have had access to health care for her child is denied, a woman who, for all reasons, should have been able to benefit from social protection is denied. A woman, for all reasons, should have been able to have access roles that will make her be able to send her goods early enough to sell is denied. What it means is that it affects the time she spends, it affects how she raises others, it increases her mental health. So, and the issue becomes more complex than we are looking at.
I see.
So for me, the democracy not for sale is a discussion that we must take it from the grassroots up and get people to believe in their own capacity. We get people to believe that having long-term benefits is better than the short-term benefits that the politicians have made us to believe.
And that's why we're here. I'll come back to my panelists, but it's a good time to get thoughts of our audience seated here. It's a town hall for a reason, and we want to solicit your thoughts as well. So the microphone will be going round. Do you have your thoughts you would like to share with us? Do you think that our democracy is for sale? We've heard from our panelists raise concerns. I recall when the Superintendent was speaking, you all exclaimed, you have thoughts about it. So please raise your hands. Indeed, please bring my microphone to my chiefs in front as well. Please do that quickly. Let's solicit their views. Over here, please, over here. Our chief would like to speak. Kindly hand over the microphone to him. Let him air his views. Please, you have the floor, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Sitting down and listening to my panelists, there's a small observation that I've made from this discussion. One, I ask myself whether as citizens we understand what democracy is. That is one aspect. Do we really understand what democracy is? Then two, even if we understand what democracy is, which institutions are responsible for educating the citizens to the understanding of what we are talking about? That's the second part of it. So the level at which we have traveled and what we are discussing now emanates from what I'm asking. Since they introduced democracy to us, maybe let me narrow it to Ghana. These same institutions that we're talking about, like NCC, should have taken the pain, or government should have made sure that these institutions are well equipped, so that the citizens are well educated on this subject matter, democracy. Here we are, there are a good number of people, you ask them that, what is democracy? They will understand democracy to be what? Voting. And when it comes to voting, what they demand from the people is that if you are able to satisfy me, then I give you my vote. It's unfortunate. I will come back to politicians taking the ignorance of this, what I have come out with. And that is why you will now see people talking about what? Vote buying. Let me share a secret with you. Before becoming a chief, I was an organizer of a political party. And we didn't start it this way. In 1992, or even before 1992, in the 1960s, 69, it was just a mere poster that you would send to somebody, and then you would send it to somebody. Done deal. The person will not even appear there. There was nothing like what? Money or monetary issue. It was just a poster. And then they will send it wrong. Then the person is what? Voted. But what has changed? As we progress, up to 1992, it was still better. The worst of this discussion that we are talking about started around 1996. If your records will serve you well, you will go back, you will now find politicians struggling to be what? To lead, struggling to compete. And that's where this monetization system started. And people started reinforcing themselves, bringing out money, bringing out, gifts, things that will entice the people to do what? To vote for them. So on this note, I think it's going to be a collaboration between government and the citizens itself. But that is cost, because we are going back to educate the people. Now, Madam spoke about this issue going back even to schools up to unit committee level. We are handpicking people to become what? Assemblymen. We are handpicking people to become unit committee members. Why is it now that when people are going, there's so much competition? Because there's some form of change within the people who are competing. A classroom teacher goes to parliament, within the next time, the lifestyle of the classroom teacher changes. What happened? A mere civil servant working becomes a member of parliament or posted to a high position. Within the next 4 years, the life changes. So obviously you should expect competition there. And where there's competition, what happened? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And if you also want to share your thoughts, please raise your hands and the microphone will be coming to you. Yes, please give them the microphone. Please, you have the floor.
Hello. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Democracy, you are saying, is not for sale. But there is little we can do about it because bribery and corruption has come to stay. Bribery and corruption has come to stay. So I would like to quote one renowned writer who spoke about bribery and corruption, Walter Lippmann. He once said, if corruption was to be suddenly and miraculously abolished, there will be a wholesale voluntary resignation of many politicians to private life. This is because they will be deprived of their incentive to stay in politics, the very means by which they maintain their political influence. The assumption is that corruption is recognized as essential source of power, which operates the official machinery of government, unquote. So this is why we are saying that democracy is not for sale, but it will be very difficult. We have a long way to go if we have to change the distance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're getting more views, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Issa Baba, Assembly Member for Sanarago electoral area. Yeah, I just want to thank you for the opportunity. And I want to say that democracy has offered all of us an equal opportunity to volunteer our service. But volunteerism has two major pillars. That is ability to volunteer, and the second one is willingness to volunteer. Now, the question is, what is ability? In the communities, we are at the local level. You come out every day, you are part of the communal labor, you are doing all sorts of things just to make sure the community progresses. But the time comes for you to climb the higher ladder. And that is where this quote and unquote, the ability comes in. Because in the local language, they will say, Opandoma ama. So when they say that you are doing well, but that is where the monetary issues come in. Because you have to demonstrate beyond the regular communal labor, beyond the normal greetings and other social issues, to be able to satisfy the people who are coming to vote for you. Take, for instance, a constituency that has about maybe 50,000 voters. And then you are supposed to contest as a parliamentary candidate. First off, the party says its own rules that you must pay for filing. You pay for the filing, you must campaign. You go around the entire constituency to meet people, not forgetting the social fabric. You must also attend social events, not forgetting paraphernalia. You must also demonstrate beyond reasonable doubt that when they give you the opportunity, you will be able to serve. So until we find a proper definition for the ability, this thing we are talking about is just starting. We'll continue to see it as we move on in our own daily lives. So my suggestion is that if we are able to, from the top to the down, political parties starting waiving off these filing fees, Electoral Commission also waiving these filing fees off, maybe we can start somewhere. That alone is a condition. And for example, if I'm an ordinary teacher, I'm not saying teachers don't earn much, but that's what the general people think. Or a peasant farmer, that means your son or your daughter cannot compete to develop the same community for which the person came from. Because, for example, you are born and bred in a community, the community has supported you through education. You go out, you have been able to get enough knowledge. Now it's time for you to impart the knowledge, help your people, and there's that barrier that you must pay some money. So if we are able to take it from the top down, I'm sure it will replicate up to the bottom. But if we are taking it from the bottom up, the offerer is at the top. And if you continue to press me with your gifts and goodies, I'll keep on taking. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your thoughts. And I can see more hands up. Please send the microphone to them.
Hello. My name is Bayo Kate from the Glory Hill Women Empowerment Group. I want to ask, we those that are here, what are we? Are we trainers of trainers or educators? That's one of the questions, because we are not even a fraction of an area. So when we live here, please, what do you expect from us? That's my question. And what I want to say is that with this generation seated here, we are already far gone when it comes to taking money and voting. Though I have not had the opportunity yet. But I think, but now that I'm being trained. So what I would say is that let's catch them young. Let's catch them young. Let's go to the primary, the basic schools, the secondary schools, and the universities. We try to form clubs, democracy not for sale clubs in the various schools. And they will pick their executives. Once in a while, within the region, there are people that will monitor that. They will go to them, they will go out there, they will act, say some recitals about democracy not for sale. Then the young ones can get it. I was once part of a voting group, a grassroots group, elsewhere in Ghana. That day I was virtually wailing because they will come and people will say that if you don't give me 2,000, I will not vote. Those that we thought we wanted to vote for, they didn't have that capacity. So we couldn't vote for them. Those who had, we voted for them. And we can't hold them accountable. You see, so I want to plead with you that this fraction seated here cannot do anything. That is book matter we are talking here. But if we want it to change, let us catch them young. Form clubs, debating clubs, from primary school up to the universities. And I tell you that you will make an impact better, because those of us here is far gone. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sure we'll get the opportunity to hear your thoughts as well. I can see more hands up, about 10 of them. Let's take every voice, and then I have a student there willing to speak. You have the floor.
Okay. So in Ghana, democracy is protected by constitutional supremacy. Votes buying is a violation against constitutional democracy and the rule of law and electoral integrity. This means that no person is beyond the law. When people sell or people buy and sell votes, this introduces a sense of entitlement. If I feel like the vote I have, or I won a certain position because every person, or 80 to 90% of the people who voted for me were bots, or 80 to 90% of the people who voted for me voted through my money, I owe nothing to you. I have your vote because I bought you. So this causes people in power to lose respect for the people who put them there. And they lose respect for the people that they're rather supposed to be serving. Let's call a spade a spade. We cannot come and preach democracy is not for sale without holding people accountable. But we need to find the roots. And we know the roots, and we are the roots. We can't say that a small group of people are not going to make an impact because they started one person by one person by one person, and then it became a group. If I get up today and I say, if it's my turn to vote, I'm voting because I feel like somebody is capable, not because they have the money to buy me. And you do it too, and another person does it too. That's a whole group on its own. And we're able to influence multiple people to do the same thing. So, my point is, buying and selling of votes introduces a sense of entitlement, and it makes people in power lose respect for us. So if we want people to listen to us and we want our leaders to serve us, we should be able to be true to ourselves and be true to the country and be able to say no to these things and make decisions not because of money, but because of our personal values and morals. Thank you.
And her point is salient because within the next few years, she'll become a first-time voter. And that's why we're giving her the opportunity to air her thoughts as well. I can see more hands in the middle aisle. Please come and give them the microphone as well. Please, you have the floor.
So thank you very much for giving the opportunity to also contribute. So I think democracy is not for sale, or votes monetizing election is coming up because of the increased demand of money from all aspects of life. Because let's take it from this point, the advocacy aspect. Sometimes you go to primary schools to give advocates, like to give talks on possible health aspects. And the children are expecting that maybe at the end of the day, you should have something to give them. And when they see you coming with polythene bags, things inside, they give you more attention than when you come with empty hands. So I think we have to start from the bottom. Let everybody understand that everything, you must not be gifted something before you understand something. So maybe when we take it from that point, we can grow with the mindset that democracy is not for sale. So thank you.
Thank you. And you make a salient point. We have to start from the bottom. We have a rep from the NCC with us, and he'll be joining us shortly. But you have the floor.
Okay.
Please introduce yourself and make your point.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Imuru Mohammed, but I don't care if people call me Honorable Polo. Until I came across JoyNews Impact Makers Foundation, I always thought monetization, that animal, that disease called monetization, has become incurable, and therefore we have to learn to live with it. Until I saw the foundation, and I now think that people have started doing something. Let's see how.
Please, a round of applause for the JoyNews channel. We're indeed pushing the change agenda.
My problem is that we are zeroing down democracy to elections. It goes beyond that. Election, campaigning, voting, and declaration put together is what we call elections. We are zeroing the campaign down to that. The campaign for democracy is not for sale. So let's go beyond elections. Just as my little daughter will rightly put it, let's call a spade a spade. There are so many people here, you can't read in their mind, but I just know that I also have a democratic right to think. Most of them came here because when you are going home, you take TNT. That's what they are thinking. Without which they won't come. Now, a politician will also call people to come and they'll be thinking about the TNT. All aspects of life in Ghana now, it has shot deep into our fabrics. And changing that will require people like, or institutions like JoyNews and other groups to start campaigning towards this. An assemblyman will face challenges of money. I am former. But people will come into your room and tell you that they need A, B, C, D. But you are also thinking forward. If you don't do it, elections time, they won't vote for you. It has just started like that from assembly. I heard my sister talking about even unit committee. That is why I said, even JoyNews Impact Makers Foundation, look at the logo. Democracy is not for sale. The democracy is big, you see that? But it's not for sale, it's small. We have already agreed. You see, the lunacy. It has become mad. The lunacy is so ordinary that even the whippers are doing. Democracy is not for sale. We have the orange color is a democracy, 9-letter words, but it's not for sale. About 13 or 11 is all crashed into one. It means we have agreed that democracy is big, but it's not for sale. It's something small. Let us work towards that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the feedback. I can see more hands up. Please bring the microphone to the front aisle. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good evening. Please, I am new about the uncle. I finally have to think of you there. And from my perspective, I think that we cannot solve a problem without identifying the root cause of the problem. And what is the root cause of the problem? I think unemployment is one of the root cause of the bureaucracy being unemployment is one of the root cause of bureaucracy being fulfilled. And if the youth are employed, being busy with their work, there is a like that. If a politician wants to meet them and give them something, they won't need anything from the politician, but they will make their own decision. And when you come to our local, our parents, some of them don't have much knowledge about what we are paying right now. So NSC has a great job to do out there because they think taking money and voting for somebody is their right. Meanwhile, it's not anything. It's not their right. So let's look at the root cause of the problem before solving the problem. Thank you.
And she says that we need to look at the root cause of the problem. She feels that unemployment is one of the causes why individuals are easily induced by politicians. Please, I can see more hands up. Please send the microphone to them. I'll start with the gentleman in the front.
Thank you so much. In Chief's submission, he did mention of NCC. I do represent the Tamale Metro Assembly, but I am really coming from NCC. So with this, the appreciation we can say, platform like this being created by, under the auspices of JoyNews, we really cannot appreciate you more than like this very time. This is the very time we need to say to ourselves, frankly, that the only thing that can disturb the current republic we have is money in politics, monetization in politics. It is as dangerous as anything. As the commission, as a commission, we engage citizens and we make them appreciate the journey so far the country has actually come, like embarked on. For the past 30 years, this republic, nothing has happened to it. We always tell citizens that this is not the first time we are trying constitutional democracy. We have tried 3 times, it never succeeded. So I keep telling my colleagues that it's better we keep charging ourselves that the best we can contribute to the posterity is for us to do the little thing we can do to keep protecting this current democracy. So JoyNews, NCCA cannot seriously appreciate it much because it is so as great as anything we can describe. You are really doing a great job. As a commission, we are on the ground. Chief did mention of us. Currently, we have civic education clubs across the country. I have a colleague teacher. I have a very good friend who is a teacher. He asked the students in the class that when you come up, what would you like to be? A lot of, I think 99% of the class mentioned, if not medical doctor, engineer. It took one student in the class, so quiet. He was not even part of them. Then they say, why? Your colleagues are even telling me their professions and you are not saying anything. They say, they are wasting their time because I want to be a delegate. You see, this is where money in politics has actually reduced the relevance of democracy too. When the teacher actually didn't, he never actually displays that answer, but he asks, who is a delegate? He said, you don't know who a delegate is. I'm going to use my own constituency. It was about Kumbungu constituency. That time, the 2 candidates who were actually fighting for the NDC slot, the ticket, they bought motorbikes for all the delegates. So the student told the teacher that if I become a delegate, I'll get a motorbike. But nobody could convince the student that you don't need any qualification to become a delegate. At that level, you can imagine the level of corruption that has just started. So we are having a very serious tax in our hand. And I believe platforms like this, if we are able to magnify platforms like this across the country, now that we have started making the noise, listening to our police commander, I actually, it's like I lost it. Commander cited a lot of laws, but he actually came back to reduce everything to evidence. Now we have a politician who spread money, like in a car, during a delegate election or so. The video was all over. As we speak today, we don't know the state of that particular case. Now, another DC cursed assembly members for not actually voting him. And he said he was not going to leave them because he'll continuously be cursing them. I believe that case was referred to the OSP. Currently, as we speak, we don't know the state of it. But to just put it bluntly, we cannot go anywhere if we don't tie this to legislation. Now, I believe JoyNews, the effort we are making, we should be finding a perfect nexus, a perfect linkage with the effort currently that has been put by other like-minded organizations like CDD. It's like they are currently championing a bill that actually can get to be passed as an act to regulate political party campaign financing. All the efforts we are doing today, we have to link to the legislation so that now that police commander is here and he can arrest because evidence is not there. I believe with this, our current act, if it is really passed into law, it will give them more grounding so that whoever submits, they can put and actually get it to the latter. Okay. To the latter end. Thank you so much.
And that's why we're actually having this forum, because we want to come up with a citizen's blueprint that can inform policy changes. And that's why we're having the conversation. I can see a lot of hands are up. We'll come back to you. Please note the number of individuals that are willing to speak. We'll come to them shortly. But I'd like to come back to my panelists because a lot of things have come up, a lot of thoughts have come up, and it's only imperative that I get your thoughts on this. I also have joined the conversation Dr. Imaruna Muhammad. He's Director of Programs at the National Commission for Civic Education, and we'll come to him shortly. But I'd like to come back to you, Prof. Some salient points have been made by individuals here today, and I would like to bounce it off on you. One of the concerns they raise is that we seem to think that the problem is with the politicians. They are giving us money. But it is now emerging that we are the problem. We are the ones making the demands. Culturally, what are the norms that we have accepted that are allowing us to be vulnerable to vote by?
Okay, thank you very much, Fossey. I'll come back to the question. In fact, listening to the comments made from the audience, it is very clear that monetization of our politics has become a canker. It's now a canker that we don't like, but it's with us. That is why I said at the beginning that, in principle, democracy is not for sale, but practically, it is for sale. Let me just comment on what my brother, the policeman, mentioned. You see, I really lamented how he started and how he ended. We are all aware that buying votes is a crime. And he has read it from our statutory books. It's a crime. But he ended up by saying that lack of evidence is what is actually making it difficult for them to actually prosecute the perpetrators or those who involved in that kind of crime. Let me just give you a scenario. Every year, the police unit, that's the statistic units, come out with rates on armed robbery and other sorts of crimes. But have you ever heard in an election, after election, the police will come out and tell you, this is the rate of vote buying in Ghana? Because the reason why they cannot do that is that they lack evidence. Most people don't even report vote buying to the police. Police, they respond to issues that are reported to them. And when there is incidents of vote buying and you don't report it to the police, how do they investigate? We see people buying vote clearly during elections. You even see people in a queue to vote, and somebody comes, a politician comes to distribute food to the queue, everybody in the queues. If you are in your senses, you know that he is using that to influence you to vote him. That is it. Sometimes even the polling agents, every party knows his polling agent. Political parties will go to a polling station and give food to everybody who is there. Clearly, it's just to influence people to vote for them. That is it. So it's actually something that we are finding difficult to understand. So because of people don't report cases, most of the cases relating to vote buying go into dark figures. Police cannot report it, and that is the issue. So let me come back to the question. You notice that there are certain norms, especially somebody giving you something and you say thank you. When a politician is giving you a gift, it's not, vote buying is not only money, even a gift that the person gives you, and the intention is to influence you to vote for him, is vote buying. Is vote buying a gift with the intention for you to vote for him is vote buying. But because we have gifts in our culture accepts gifts to the extent that when somebody gives you something and you refuse, it becomes problematic. You go to a community, then you go to the chief with so many goodies. Oh, we are coming to present this thing to you as a gift. The chief will not resist it because you belong to a political party A or a political party B. That influences other people. So if the chief can take a gift, how much less an ordinary citizen? It's part of our culture. Respect that we have for elders, for people, is part of our culture. So a politician goes to a community and the community tells the politician that we want our roles to be fixed. But before the roles are fixed, you must do A, B, C, D for our roles to be fixed. Else, we will not vote for you. We've been hearing it. Politicians go to communities and they tell them, no. Sometimes some even put banners across their communities. and threaten politicians not to even enter there. If you enter, we are going to kill you. Or this election, don't come and run any campaign in this particular community. The politician is also forced to do whatever the community wants. It's a form of vote buying. It's a form of vote buying.
So how do we draw the fine line?
So you notice that we are so much interested in what the politicians give. Because the moment politicians start buying people's decisions, it's dangerous to our democracy. Very dangerous. Because the society cannot live that way. So when you start buying people's vote, forgetting that in a democracy, decisions, policies are supposed to reflect on the interests of the people. So if you buy something, it means that you own it. In our tradition, that is why we sociologists are arguing that the term bride price should not be used.
What term should we use then?
Bride wealth. Bride wealth. Because when you say bride price, it looks as if you are buying the woman. And for that matter, you can treat the woman anyhow. But when you say bride wealth, it's something that you have given out to the woman's family. The same thing applies to a politician. He buys your decision. He can do whatever he wants to you. Even when he becomes, when he is in power, he can decide not to tell you anything because he bought your decision. That is dangerous. Okay. And that is why we are saying that something must happen. Even if we are not able to eliminate or put a stop to it, at least we should reach somewhere where it will be minimized in our society.
Thank you so much, Prof. I'll come back to you because I want to find out how academia can help us to develop a blueprint that can change the perception the voters have. But let me move on to Setu. Now, you told me that you'll be telling us about the solutions. And so what practical interventions do you propose that we can implement in our communities that can help educate people against vote buying?
So for me, I'm happy NCC already have mentioned that they have clubs across. Already we have a lot of things happening, just that I think we are doing it in silos. So I feel that the coordinating body should be strengthened to coordinate this very well. That is one. And we should ensure that we all talk to each other, because it's like everyone is at their corner doing whatever they are doing, and that is not also helping us. So for me, I feel that the clubs that exist, imagine that every school, every community has a club. Already we are gone in terms of information. So I think that institution should be strengthened. It's like we have weakened it, and I mentioned weak institutions. One is the NCC, the other is the Electoral Commission, the other is police. So for me, it has to be all of us dealing with it. It cannot be one side. And I also feel that both grassroots and at the highest level must be dealt with at the same time. We cannot wait to deal with grassroots and now go to the national level or the higher level to do anything. As much as possible, we must be dealing with them concurrently. Whilst we are changing behaviors down, we must be changing systems or strengthening systems to respond to that. Why is it that we are not able to enforce certain things? For instance, before you go into a particular position, you need to declare your asset. And it has become an issue of people are not declaring, but we are all quiet about it. We are all not being fair to each other here. And that is why I said we must be honest. If it is A, it must be A. If it is B, it must be B. If the strategy must be used for all, it must be used for all. It shouldn't be when this person, because you know the person, the strategy must be bent somehow. If it is B, then you are strict on that. And I think that until we all agree that all of us here, we are corporates, we can never get there, because we must all agree that we have all fallen, and then we wake up together and deal with the issue. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'll come to my other panelists, but let me go on Zoom now and bring in Dr. Imaruna Mohammed. He's with the NCC. We appreciate your time here on the Joy News channel. Now, one of the key points that have come up, both from our panelists and our audience, is the need to educate the communities, the people, about how they can reject vote buying and the dangers involved in it. NCC, we are told, you have clubs in schools, but how effective has education been so far, based on your analysis?
Thank you very much for having me. Let me take the opportunity to also say good evening to our wonderful people in Tamale. It is really a great opportunity and a very good thing that Joy News is doing for us in terms of getting the message that about vote buying and then voter inducement, and generally the involvement or the great impact of money in politics is doing to our democracy. You've asked me a very important point about the work of the National Commission for Civic Education. By way of a background, maybe I need to explain that the National Commission for Civic Education is one of the key independent governance institutions mandated to carry out education on critical governance issues. We are typically mandated to at least do education on the principles and objectives of the Constitution, and we've done so for over 30 years. In order not to spend much time talking about my institution, I would like to speak, briefly about the work that we've done. You've mentioned about the presence of our civic education clubs in schools. We have them across all the educational levels. But let me add that our education in schools does not only, is not only limited to our club members. We only use the club members as, a sort of, if you like, in research, like a sample size, to show your presence in certain aspects. But when we go to schools, we try as much as possible to talk to every student, because the work that we do should touch everybody. And in as much as we do that, every election year, and even beyond election, we have community-based, strategies for ensuring that, one, elections are peaceful, they are credible. We have the inter-party dialogue platforms that we have that has membership from almost all the political parties. We do engagements for, group market women, other social groups such as landlords, tenants associations. We go to churches and mosques. We do a lot of things when it gets to the issue of money in politics, and then voter inducement and vote buying. But there are structural issues that we need to address as a country when it comes to the involvement of money in politics, because education is very critical. It has been going on, and for NCC, when I talk about the structural issues, we every election year carry out a survey to assess the opinion of the citizens on what they want, their priorities in terms of development, on issues that weaken our democratic governance, such as the one that we are discussing today, which is money in politics. A lot of voters tell us that it is not their intention to take money from politicians in order to vote for them. But democracy is not an end in itself. It's a means to an end. Democracy should give you development. One of the things they tell us is that if we're voting, we've elected leadership at several times, and we still don't have road, we don't have potable water, our electricity is not reliable, what is the point? So at that point, when a politician comes to me, my interest will be, what do you have for me before I go and vote for you? Because the structural challenges, that border as unemployment have not been fully resolved. That is not to say that, that is a good justification for one selling his vote. Our police officer on the panel has spoken about the law. Voter inducement is prescribed under the law. If you do it and you are caught, you'll be dealt with. When we do education on this voter inducement and then, the issue about law enforcement, in the past, as a commission, we've adopted a strategy in order to make sure that citizens, elect the right voters into office. We tell them, when somebody comes to you with money, it means that fellow doesn't mean well to you. Don't take the money, vote according to your conscience. But they voted according to their conscience several times, and still their problem persists. And the vote buying and money in politics is still going on. We changed the mantra. We say, well, you see that these money politicians are bringing to you, the money is for you. Well, you can take it when they bring it, but vote according to your conscience. But there is also the moral dilemma. Once you've taken money from somebody, what conscience then do you have, right, left to vote objectively? I spoke about, structural issues. Let me now take some minutes to speak to the laws that regulate the organization of political parties. We as a commission indicate to citizens that membership of political party is guaranteed under the law. The chapter 5 of our constitution, that is on fundamental human rights and freedom, the longest chapter of our constitution, allows freedom of association. So citizens have the right to join political parties and even take initiative, right, to take leadership in political parties. But when you look at Article 55 of the Constitution, right, that regulates the organization of political parties. Political parties are given so much to do in order to legitimize their existence, in order for them to be able to, to become an institution that is eligible to present itself for election. You have to get structures at the constituency level. You have to get representatives at every region and every constituency. Meanwhile, that arrangement does not, say that the state is going to give the political party this amount of money as a form of support. So that becomes a structural issue. The political parties, therefore, have to find a way to survive. And once people invest in the political parties, sometimes when they come to power, the attention will be on how to recoup the investment that they have made. So the Article 55 of the Constitution says so many things that political parties should do. The political parties are one of the actors in the democracy. The Electoral Commission is one. NCC is an actor in democracy. We complain about, low funding. But whilst the Constitution gives the duty, right, to political parties to do certain organizational activities in order for them to be legitimate, the Constitution and then the Act, the Political Parties Act 2000, which is Act 574, re-emphasizes all these long structures. Before you become legitimate to register to become a political party, you should have offices in this number of constituencies. You should have regional representation on your executives. You should have this. But there is no mention of the state providing funding support to the political party. Earlier on, one of the contributors made mention about the current effort being made.
Okay.
So all is not lost. The constitutional review processes that we are going through at this stage and the initiatives that have been taken by civil society organizations such as the Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, are commendable. And for me, those are first steps towards having the influence of money in politics if you address these structural issues. And going forward, as citizens, we really have to assert our part of the bargain, right? We are told to be citizens. As citizens, we have responsibilities. We really have to uphold our responsibilities as citizens and avoid things that are immoral. Immorality is not also acceptable in democracy. It is not only at the religious or cultural settings that we have to shun immorality. Taking a bribe
Thank you so much.
also an
I have to
immoral
come in at this point in time. I know you have a lot to tell me, but I'll come back to you because we want to see real commitment. The reason we're having this forum is to ensure that all the key actors commit to change moving forward. And so we'll come to NCC to find out what strategies you're deploying moving forward to ensure that citizens are conscientized to reject some of these monies when they're being induced by politicians and the way forward. So I'll come back to you, but let me come back to my guests, and also I'll also give our audience the opportunity to speak shortly. So please be on standby to hand them the microphones. But before I went to the NCC, we were just moving to one of our key institutions, which is the Ghana Police Service. Thank you so much. At this point in time, we're wondering, we're hearing about the growing risk of criminals funding political parties and the influence that is having. From your point of view, how can we nip that in the bud?
Say, until we get to the point where we see political activism lower than the supremacy of the law, we'll never get there. As at now, political activism or political activities is gradually submerging the supremacy of the law. So until we get to the point where the supremacy of the law will be restored to its original place, it will be difficult. I have to be frank with you.
And how is that even possible? Explain to me what you mean by that point.
What do I mean by that point? This, what we are doing here now, quite a number of it is about political activities.
Yeah.
And you just made mention of criminals funding political activities. They come into politics to protect their businesses. So you arrest them, and because they are aligned to a political party, it is difficult to prosecute. You even start the process, and for years, the case will not end. Why should that be the case? If you are not a member of a political party, within the shortest possible time, there is evidence against you, and we nail you. But where a politically exposed person who is interested in protecting his or her business, it becomes very difficult, and you know what I'm talking about. So let's try with the education that the law is supreme. All of us are equal before the law, but as at now, some are not equal before the law. Until we get to the stage where all of us are equal before the law, it will be difficult. I have to be frank with you.
And I'm wondering what legal reforms, because you made mention of the legal bottlenecks, what legal reforms would empower the Ghana Police Service to clamp down effectively on vote buying?
The laws are there perfectly, but the will to go through the process and get the negative ones out of our communities is becoming difficult. So let us all come together and start to expose the negative ones. If community is exposing them, you don't need the police to come in. So I'm charging all the communities, let's come together. Let's do our civic duty as the 1992 Constitution is asking us to do. Cooperate with the law enforcement agencies. Give them the information. Be ready to provide evidence. By so doing, we'll all get there. But if we have the evidence and we are keeping it, we have the information and we are keeping it, my dear, it will be difficult.
But as a citizen, how can I freely report cases of inducement without fear of victimization? Do you have any protection for me?
Yes. We have the right to keep your identity to ourselves, not to expose you. And when it becomes critical, your case may not be heard in open court if we have to invite you to come and give evidence. It will be in camera. By so doing, we are trying to protect you. If it gets to a point where your identity, the court itself can see that when your identity is known, it becomes a danger to you, the court will be interested in protecting you, and for that matter, your identity will never come out. So that is the assurance I'm giving all of us that we should be bold enough to give information to the police and be ready to assist. Let's go through the process. By so doing, we will be able to reduce some of these incidents in the system.
Thank you so much. I'll come back to you because we want to get commitment from all our guests, our distinguished panel, as well as those of you seated right here in the Nut Hall. But let me go to Haji at this point in time. You've been listening carefully. And so I'm wondering, what policy changes do you think we can implement urgently that will help bridge the gap that we're making mention of, especially because we want more women participation in politics? And you made mention of the fact that the lack of finances is actually impeding those gains.
Yeah, so that's an important question. Just to build on what they have said before I come to answer the question. You know, a lot of us are in this democracy because of fairness. The idea is that democracy is supposed to protect the poor, so that there is fair distribution of resources for everybody. It shouldn't matter who you are and what you have. But as long as we've not reached there because of vote buying, because of turning the democracy into a commodity, where we, even though we have the commodity to sell, we still don't have the bargaining power. For me, I think that one way that we can overcome this is the mindset is very important. The mindset that we are all having, even when the Joy Impact team went to the grounds, you saw that the videos they shared, a lot of them said yes, they agree that the democracy is for sale. They are not doubting it. They are very confident that it is for sale and it is in their mind. We need to work towards changing that mindset. And until we get that mindset change, and if you look at the democracy we're running these days, all the political parties are so much particular about the youth. And it is not for nothing they are so much interested in the youth. They have energy. They have social media at their advantage. And there are also those that are not working. A lot of them. So we need to first fix the problem of getting them work. When we get them work, they will begin to work on the mindset that, look, the democracy is for you to have that freedom of choice of who leads you. Freedom of choice of your interest superseding the one that is coming to you to say, I want to lead you. You should determine the kind of leadership you want so that you can demand accountability and transparency for the person. So if we are looking for policy options, the policy option is to the national youth policy that we have currently. We must really look at that policy very well. What is in the content of that policy that puts civic responsibility and discipline to the youth that they can hold on to and know that the Ghana they want, they must determine the direction of the Ghana they want. If not, they won't get it. They won't get it because the politicians have intentionally created unemployment and they are in it. And they are in it and they only think that the only way is to become the foot soldier, do the course every day on the radio, get more people insulted, package people, derail people who have earned a lot of respect for their effort, and package that as a product to go and sell to a politician and get reward for it. So you have also sold it. Now, if we want to change that, if we want the youth, that narrative to change, we must work on the mindset of the youth. That tomorrow should definitely be the one you should be looking at. You should look at tomorrow in a long term such that it is productive, it is resourceful, and it is sustainable for you. But not the immediate gain, because that immediate gain will not take you far. But the politician will use you and continue to make sure that what they are supposed to give you as a young person in terms of creating the enabling environment, putting the policies that will make you get the job are not coming because the youth have been disaggregated. And I also realized that there has been a lot of divide and rule in the system. The politicians have adopted divide and rule approach with the youth. So during election, you can have a community put no water, no vote. But the youth in that community, whose party is in power and they are saying no water, no vote, see an issue with that. So they fight you, the one, and then they will vote anyway. People vote. Even no water, no vote, they will still vote. So we need to work on people's mindsets, and then we need to be intentional. We need to work on attitude. Our attitude is becoming so much of something that we cannot talk about. And until we work on people's attitude, until we work on their mindset, until we get people work to do. I went to a country and I intentionally in one meeting with some young man, I asked him that, since I came, I've not heard your mayor, I've not heard anybody tell. He said, who is our mayor? Me, I don't even know the mayor. People don't know their politicians because the politicians, those people are working. When they get up, they go to work. So their attention is on the work they are doing. They are bringing products to themselves. They are bringing value to the process. But as long as the value is not there, we need policy options that will give value to the young person and see positive change in themselves, see confidence what they can do with their labor and their energy. If not, it will become a bit of a challenge. But there is always hope.
There's always hope. And that's why we're having this conversation, because we believe that there is hope. And we can cause that change. That's why we're aggregating the voices of the citizen to come up with a blueprint that can help inform policy changes and ensure that our democratic process is more free, it's more fair, and inducement is something of the past. Well, I'll come back to my panelists as we wrap up briefly. Each of you will give me your commitment, because we want to hear commitment from the Ghana Police Service, from civil society groups, and also academia, that moving forward, you'll be committing to this, and you'll be committing to educating people against vote buying, and also piling pressure on government. We'll also be coming to our audience briefly. Make your responses as brief as you can for me. I'd like to acknowledge our sponsors. This broadcast is proudly brought to you by the Impact Makers Foundation, Tamale Radio, and Radio Justice as well. We appreciate you. Let's now go around to the audience briefly to make their comments. I can see some few hands up. I'd like to start with the lady next to Caleb.
Thank you for this opportunity. JoyNews Impact Makers. My name is Margaret. I work for NCCE. Let me use this opportunity to commend you for such an impactful program. Somebody asked a question that, can this make an impact? I believe it can make an impact. You see, there's one thing I have realized about Ghanaians. When we don't know, and then we are in a position not to be able to make good decisions, and education come our way, we easily learn. Ghanaians, we easily learn. You see, when we started our democratic journey, and then the issue was that low voter turnout, people don't like to vote, and a whole lot of issues. Education went on, and with time, people started appreciating the fact that it is my civic duty to come out to vote. That is direct participation of democracy, which is one of the tenets. Then another tenet is also indirect participation. That is where we elect our representatives, that's the MPs and other leaders, to make decisions on our behalf. And through these decisions, we have a say. They make the decisions on our behalf, and then we also have a duty to hold them accountable. And I think that is what we are lacking for now, probity and accountability. Now, we understand direct participation, we understand indirect participation, but the probity and accountability is what we are lacking now. So I think with education, we can get somewhere. Let's talk to our people that, look, when politicians come to give you money or gifts for you to vote for them, I often hear some people make the comment, oh, let's take it. It's taxpayers' money. It's our money. Let's take it. It's your money, but at the long run, who suffers? The social amenities they would have provided for us when they win and they are busy trying to recoup what they have spent giving us during elections. So I believe that with education, we can make a headway. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Briefly, if you're making your point, please briefly for me. The lady next to Anthony, please make the point.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm Aisha Mohammed, the Executive Director of Golden Inspires Foundation, and I'd like to appreciate Joy Impact Makers Foundation for this forum. Yes, ideally, democracy was not supposed to be for sale, but in this part of the country, it's like we've normalized it in the sense that you must be bought before you vote. And it affects women more. As a gender activist, I've seen in my constituency where we have about 30 electoral areas. And out of these electoral areas, we don't have a female as an assembled member. Simply because we, the women, do not have enough resources to contest for this position. And this is very bad for us. And sometimes I believe that we cannot even blame our politicians for this game of vote buying or vote monetization. Because some of us are too lazy to understand that if you sit closer to a politician, you will understand what they are going through. I've been with a politician who complained bitterly or lamented about how a female politician, how people are reaching out to her to support her to marry second, third, or fourth wives, or even do naming ceremonies for their own children. What kind of laziness is that? So this is how far we have come, and I think something must be done about this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please, the next person.
Thank you.
Please
I'm
hand
here.
the microphone.
I have the mic here.
Great. I have the police service. They want to speak.
Yeah, my name is Chief Inspector Hassan Lukman Indo, and I would like to add my voice to the stock of knowledge being discussed. And my point is, one of the speakers made a very significant point, and I would like to re-echo the fact that you see an MP or a politician splashing cash. It is not enough reason to adduce evidence, because there are two elements of crime. One, the mens rea, and then the actus reus. So the mens rea is the blamable states of mind, and then the actus reus is commissioning of the offense or act. So at the time of splashing the cash, what was the intent about? And so probably that person, you see Shatawale splashing cash. What is the motion or rationale behind the splashing of the cash? And so when you go to the courtroom, it goes beyond the face value. So adducing evidence, you need an overwhelming evidence to prove that indeed at the act of splashing the cash, that person wanted to induce the voter or the consumer. That said, I would also like to drop this point. The fact that when our democracy is acquired through, if you like, political inducement, then clearly you are losing your credibility. And so accountability, you cannot question it. It's been compromised and it becomes fragile. And again, you would talk about your credibility or integrity. And so your integrity becomes negotiable. And so this clearly debases the value and beauty of democracy when we allow our moral foundation to be compromised by the people who seek, for political office. And again, the point is that we are gradually moving away from, politics of idea, contestation of idea, to, inducing the people. And so politics or democracy used to be persuasion. You persuade the people, you tell them that this is the point or message that you have. Because there are three cardinal principles of democracy. One, you have the message, you have the candidate himself. What at all are you bringing on board? And so this is the point that I want to make in respect of the point that, police officers are not arresting and that there are overwhelming evidence, so to speak. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And please, we would like you to keep your responses very brief, less than 30 seconds, so that we can take as much opinions as possible. I can see a lady already has a microphone, but when she's done speaking, please move forward. I have a gentleman in front. He's a member of a political party, I can see. He has his party paraphernalia on. Please, let's move the microphone to him. I can see a gentleman also in front of me. So let's do it briefly, 30 seconds, make your point, and then we move on.
Thank you very much. My name is Faidatu Al-Hassan, and I'm the chairperson for the Senior Staff Association, University for Development Studies. When I got the invitation to participate in this forum, Haja Alima was like, you are the politicians, so you need to be here to understand the issues. Democracy is not for sale. It's not something new to any of us here. It is a canker that has eaten deep into the fiber of our society. And we should take a multifaceted approach if we want to nip this in the bud. First of all, our understanding of democracy should not be limited to elections. It has to do with transparency. It has to do with inclusion. It has to do with right to information, right to participation, and a whole lot. Now, if we look at even the way we award our contracts for development, our roads, water, and everything, you would see that even influence peddling has come to exacerbate the situation. It has deepened our woes, and if we are not careful, this will continue to deprive the ordinary person like me and the woman in the community who would have the need for social amenities, yet they can't access it because of this problem.
Okay.
So I just want to...
Briefly, please wrap up for me. You've crossed your 30 seconds.
Yes, I just want to say and appeal to our institutions to be more proactive and to work together and collaborate to help us deepen citizens' awareness about the situation. Okay. Once we are aware and we are prepared to do something about it, then I'm sure it's a very good starting point, and we can all join forces to end this canker.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
We will take only 2 more responses. Please pass the microphone to the gentleman raising his hand wearing the party paraphernalia in front. I also have a gentleman standing next to Caleb. He would go next, so please let him be on standby. But let him speak, please, briefly, 30 seconds.
30 seconds is too small. I must be frank with you. My name is Abubakari Abdullahi Madugu, CPP Second Regional Vice Chairman. In fact, if you say democracy is not for sale, it's a perfect idea. I've listened to a lot of speakers, and I am coming from a political party, and I'll go this way. If you ask me whether Convention People's Party has a document policy regard to vote buying or vote endorsement, same, I would say, applies to the NDC and the MPP. Now, not quite a long time, we saw what happened in, what's the name of the constituency? My secretary. Ayawasu East.
Yes, Ayawasu East by-election.
By-election.
Briefly, please, for me.
Okay.
We have barely 5 minutes left.
We saw televisions, and what have you been given out to delegates to vote for a particular candidate? A committee was set up, but because there's no law in our own political parties, the party could not do anything with it. So I want to say that we should have such policies in our own manifestos, so that when such a thing happens, we take it up from our own political party. From there, then the state will also take it up.
Okay.
But you can clearly hear from what the policeman said. He set his own questions, and it was answered by himself, which is very, very bad. Because if I have my money, okay, and I give it out to delegates to vote for me, and somebody takes me to the court, I'll tell the court that I didn't do that, or I did that because he's a friend or he's a good.
So you are part of the problem.
You okay? So for that matter, you are giving we the political
Yes, you are
parties
part of the problem.
more chance to even what? Do a vote buying and vote what? Inducement. Which is very, very what? Bad.
I see.
So please, I want to appeal to the state that when we are able to
please,
do
you crossed
this,
the 30 seconds.
yes, I'm learning. I'm learning.
Please land right
I'm learning.
now. Thank you.
You know,
Thank you.
CPP has been in IC for a very long time.
Okay.
And I believe and trust that when we are able to curb this, CPP will come back to power in 2028 and will not have all these things
Well,
going.
this is not a campaign ground. And so at this point in time, we have just a few more minutes left. I want to get commitment from my panelists, even before we wrap up this conversation. And I understand that I have less than 5 minutes left. So I'll come to my panelists and I'll get your commitment towards this campaign we are running. We want to ensure that we have a blueprint moving forward. And so I'll come to NCCE to tell me your commitment that you are indeed committed moving forward to better education. But before that, 30 seconds. I understand that there's a gentleman with a microphone who would like to speak. A lady? A lady? Okay. 30 seconds, please.
Thank you very much. Please.
Okay. I am Abubakar Isahadat Nima. That is the president of Ghana Federation of the Disability Organization. Okay, what I want to say about this nowadays democracy. I would say it's no more democracy, it's rather cheatocracy. Yes, I have picked this word from the word cheats. Because ask me, how much did politicians come to buy voters? Does it have a fixed price? No. But when you queue and vote, the few enjoy and the many suffer. Ask me why. As I'm sitting here, if I tell you I've never spent a politician money up to 20 cedi, you won't believe it. But let me say something. Some people take money, huge money from politicians, with the reason that when they vote for them, they will never come to them, unless during election. So they feel that even if the politician come and give the person even 20 billion to take, but the person will still take it because after election, politicians, they decide to run away. But what I will say, a problem cannot be there without a solution. The solution is that before we can stop this vote buying, let us implement the law, vote of no confidence. Because if a politician is coming to buy a voter, the politician should know about this vote confidence that even if I use my huge money to buy the voter, at the end of it, or if I'm not performing, they will vote me out before my time would due. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, we would like to acknowledge our sponsors, the Impact Makers Foundation, Tamale Radio, and Radio Justice as well. Thank you so much. Please have your seat. We would like to wrap up with getting commitment from our key stakeholders. We have NTC with us, but I'd like to start with the Ghana Police Service. Are you committing that ahead of the next electoral cycle, the police is committing to proactive, visible crackdown on vote buying? And what should the public hold you accountable for after this forum? Briefly.
See, the commitment I will make here is that I'm pleading with all the media stations. Grant us audience to come and do education on the law. Once we have this platform, we'll be available to educate people on the law and the consequences thereof. By so doing, I'm hopeful there will be a reduction in these menace.
Thank you so much. Please, a round of applause for the Ghana Police Service. I'd also like to come to Prof. Are you committing, as a thought leader, that you're willing to support a national reform agenda through your research, through advocacy, and also policy output to push for stricter campaigns and financial regulations in our political space?
Yes, thank you. I think what has happened here is very, very clear. And we can all make change. Those of us who are here can be ambassadors to this particular change. You can imagine we are 100 or 200 in this particular hall, and each person is committed to sensitize his family, his friends, and whoever he is associated with. We can really make a change. Those of us in academia, we are committed to three things: researching, teaching, and then community services. So we are committed to continue to research into this particular dilemma and make sure that we make proposals to the government so that we'll live in a better Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll move straight to Hafizatu. Are you committing, will NORSAC commit your network to mobilizing the grassroots against vote buying and advocating for clean politics nationwide?
Yes, so let me just say that it's not just NORSAC. I think other civil society organizations are here, and we've been doing that. We would collaborate effectively more with the NCC going forward in terms of whatever we are doing to ensure that we get the education to the grassroots and also participate at policy level engagement. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And with Haji as well, you're committing the same way?
Yeah, we are committing that it's possible to make a change from the grassroots up whilst also doing the national level advocacy as well as the international. But I want to say that, you see this vote 14, the last point I was missing. You know, if you see women that are in leadership, because of this democracy thing, even sometimes, every time there is tension on the women that they are not performing because they want to use the money to provide social services.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for that commitment. And briefly, we're wrapping up with NCC. They are joining via Zoom. Are you committing to ensure that you would intensify education to ensure that people are more aware about the ills of vote buying?
Thank you very much. Not just committing, but, you know, we are going to strengthen our existing activities that we are doing. I'm so, excited about the level of information and the space that we are given. As a commission, we are going to dedicate our institutional strength. And when I say institutional strength, I mean it from three folds. We have offices across the country with staff who, do education on local languages. We are going to commit those, resources to this going forward to ensure that our democracy is strengthened. We have other platforms such as the Inter-Party Dialogue Committee, the political party activist youth platforms, and even parliamentary candidates dialogues that we do every year. We are going to make these an integral part of these platforms that we use so that the education will go far and wide and we strengthen our democracy going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate your time and your company here on the Joy News channel. For those of you listening to us live on Joy 99.7 FM, we appreciate your time and your company. To my panelists, I appreciate you. Thank you for committing to change. And that's the purpose of this forum, because we're seeking to aggregate voices to put out that blueprint that we need to advocate for change in our political space. My name is Faustina Safo. It's been a pleasure doing this with you. Have a wonderful day as you enjoy the rest of our programs. Good evening. We'll be taking pictures, so please do not go. Our team behind will help to direct you as to how we'll be taking the pictures. So please do not go. I think so. Stand up, take a picture. I presume. Our dignitaries in